In the heart of Nigeria, within the great kingdom of Oyo, two brothers were born into royalty, Adewale, the firstborn and future king, and Adetayo, the younger prince destined to live in his shadow. Their father, Oba Aderemi, was a wise and just ruler, and though tradition dictated that only Adewale could inherit the throne, the two brothers were inseparable in their youth. They trained together, learned from the kingdom's finest scholars, and rode through the palace grounds, imagining grand futures. Adewale was thoughtful and deliberate, while Adetayo was bold and instinctive, possessing a warrior spirit. In many ways, they balanced each other. But everything changed when Oba Aderemi passed away. Adewale ascended the throne, and though he initially sought Adetayo's counsel, the harmony between them began to fracture. The royal court was a dangerous place, filled with scheming chiefs and power-hungry nobles who viewed Adetayo as a threat. "He envies you, my king," they whispered. "Your brother dreams of taking your throne." At first, Adewale dismissed their words. He loved his brother. But doubt, like a slow poison, seeped into his heart. He became guarded, watching Adetayo with suspicion, questioning his intentions. One night, during a royal gathering, one of the chiefs publicly accused Adetayo of plotting against the throne. Though Adetayo vehemently denied it, Adewale, now fully consumed by paranoia, made his decision. For the good of Oyo, he declared, Prince Adetayo must leave the palace. Banished from the only home he had ever known, Adetayo turned away from the throne room without a word. He walked through the palace gates, his name already being whispered like a ghost of the past. Adetayo wandered the vast lands of Oyo, surviving by his wits. He moved from village to village, no longer a prince but a nameless traveler. Eventually, he settled in a quiet town far from the capital, where he worked as a hunter and fisherman. But the fire within him did not fade. Determined not to let betrayal define him, he trained relentlessly. He sought out warriors, mercenaries, and former palace guards who had been exiled over the years. From them, he learned new fighting styles, perfected his swordsmanship, and studied the tactics of great military leaders. Though his body became stronger, his heart remained conflicted. He bore no hatred for his brother, yet the pain of rejection lingered. Years passed. Adetayo became a different man, hardened, disciplined, and feared among the warriors of the outskirts. But as he found strength in exile, Oyo began to wither. A long drought gripped the land, bringing famine and unrest. The once prosperous kingdom grew weak, and enemies from beyond its borders took notice. One of them was Olumide the Ruthless. Olumide was no ordinary warlord. He was a conqueror, a man who thrived on destruction. His army, a brutal force of raiders and mercenaries, descended upon Oyo with relentless fury. The palace guards fought valiantly, but starvation and internal strife had weakened them. The capital city burned as Olumide's forces slaughtered nobles and warriors alike. Within hours, the kingdom fell. King Adewale was dragged from his throne, his once proud robes torn, his crown cast to the ground. The people of Oyo watched in horror as their ruler was bound in chains. Olumide sneered, gripping the fallen king's chin. "Is this the great ruler of Oyo? A man too weak to defend his own kingdom?" Adewale, broken but defiant, said nothing. He knew that Oyo's fate was sealed unless someone rose to challenge the warlord. Far from the burning capital, an elderly priestess traveled through the outskirts in search of a forgotten name. She found Adetayo in the wilderness, practicing his swordsmanship by the river. "The kingdom needs you," she said. Adetayo, now a warrior, turned to face her. "Oyo cast me aside. Why should I return? Your brother is captured. Your people suffer. Will you truly abandon them? For a long moment, Adetayo said nothing. Then, with a slow nod, he sheathed his sword. Oyo was still his home. Adetayo gathered the warriors he had trained with over the years, hunters, mercenaries, and exiled palace guards. They were not an army, but they were strong, hardened by survival. Under the cover of darkness, they marched toward the capital. Using hidden tunnels from his childhood, Adetayo led his forces into the heart of the city. The people of Oyo, trapped in their own fear, watched from their homes as the forgotten prince returned. The battle for Oyo had begun with a fierce battle cry. Adetayo and his warriors struck the city streets, erupted into chaos. Blades clashed, arrows flew, and the cries of war filled the air. The palace courtyards became a battlefield, blood staining the stone pathways. Adetayo fought like a man possessed, cutting through Olumide warriors with precision. His men followed, striking down the invaders, reclaiming the kingdom one street at a time. Through the smoke and destruction, Adetayo made his way to the palace dungeons. There, chained and bruised, was his brother. For the first time in years, there was no suspicion between them, only understanding. There I met. Brother. Adewale whispered, shame in his voice. Adetayo freed him and handed him a sword. We fight together. Side by side, the royal brothers battled. As the battle raged, Adetayo faced his true enemy, Olumide. Their swords met with a clash of steel, sparks flying with every strike. Olumide was powerful, but Adetayo was faster, fueled by years of training and the fire of vengeance. The duel raged through the palace halls, each warrior matching the other in skill. But in the end, Adetayo found his opening. With a final swift movement, he drove his blade into Olumide's chest. The warlord gasped, his strength fading. You were forgotten, Olumide choked out. Adetayo's gaze was cold. Not anymore. With that, Olumide fell lifeless to the ground. At dawn, the people of Oyo gathered in the palace courtyard, their voices rising in cheers for the man who had saved them. King Adewale, now humbled, stood before his people. My brother, Adetayo, is the true hero of Oyo. He turned to him, eyes filled with regret. I cast you aside, yet you saved us all. Will you stay and rule by my side? Adetayo smiled. My place is with the people, not the throne. But I will always protect Oyo. And so, he refused the crown, choosing instead to be the kingdom's guardian. From that day on, the name of Prince Adetayo was no longer forgotten. He became a legend, the warrior prince who saved his home, not for power, but for love. And in the hearts of the people, his story would live forever. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please subscribe, share, like and click on the notification button.